The wind was loud that night. On a small dusty planet called Harness, far away from Earth, a young girl named Mira sat alone inside her old wooden cabin. Her home was small and broken in many places. Cold air came through the cracks. Still, Mira stayed calm. She had lived alone for 3 years. Ever since her parents had gone missing during a trade mission, she had a small cooking pot on a heater. Inside it, a thin soup made from dried roots and herbs was bubbling slowly. It didn't smell good, but it was warm, and that was enough. Outside, black clouds covered the red sky. A space storm was coming. Mira had seen storms like this before. They were strong and dangerous. The wind could pull small ships from the air. That's why most people stayed in the big cities during storm season. But Mira had no city, no family, and no visitors. Until tonight. Suddenly, there was a loud knock at her door. Bang, bang, bang. Mira jumped. She wasn't expecting anyone. She grabbed the small light and moved carefully to the door. She pressed the old scanner to check outside. The screen showed 2 figures, a man and a small boy, both covered in dust, both standing in the wind. The boy looked tired. The man was holding him close, trying to shield him from the storm. Mira hesitated. She had little food, little space. But the boy's face touched her heart. She opened the door. The wind rushed in, cold and loud. The man stepped forward. "Please," he said, his voice rough from the dust, "just one night. My son is cold. We'll leave in the morning." Mira looked at the boy. He looked about 6 years old. He was shivering and holding a small stuffed toy. Mira nodded. "Come in." Inside, she gave them each a corner of the room to sit. The boy sat near the heater, warming his hands. Mira handed them 2 small cups of soup. "It's not much," she said, "but it's hot." The man took the cup and nodded. "Thank you. My name is Tom. This is my son Ben." Mira smiled at the boy. "Hi, Ben." The boy looked at her, then smiled weakly. "Thank you for the soup." Mira looked at Tom. He had strong eyes and a quiet face. His clothes were simple, but something about him felt different. Not like the usual travelers or broken traders who sometimes passed by her area. She didn't ask questions. She never did. Later, as the storm roared outside, the cabin shook a little. Mira gave them both old blankets. "This place is old," she said, "but it's safe enough." Ben fell asleep quickly, curled up near the heater with his toy. Tom stayed awake longer, staring out the small window. Mira sat across from him, watching. "You came a long way?" she asked. Tom nodded. "Yes. Running from something?" Tom was silent for a moment. Then he answered, "Not running, hiding, just for now." Mira didn't push. She knew people hid for many reasons. Debts, mistakes, enemies. She simply said, "Well, you're welcome to hide here tonight." Tom looked at her, and for the first time he smiled. "Thank you, Mira." That night, Mira could not sleep easily. She lay on her old bedroll, staring at the ceiling. The storm was loud, but not louder than her thoughts. Who were they really? Why did they look so tired? And most of all, why did someone like Tom, who looked so sure and strong, need to hide? Still, she had no regrets. She had always believed that helping others was the right thing to do, even if she had little to give. In the morning, the storm had passed. The sky outside was clear, though the ground was wet with red dust. Mira stepped out with her tools to check her solar panel. It had stopped working again. She sighed. Without power, her heater and scanner would stop too. Before she could start fixing it, Tom came outside. "I can help," he said. Mira blinked. "You know machines?" Tom just gave her a small smile and walked to the panel. He opened the back, checked the wires, and within 5 minutes, the lights on the panel blinked back to life. Mira stared. "That would have taken me 2 hours." Tom wiped his hands. "I've fixed many things in my life." Ben came running outside too, chasing a small metal ball Mira had made for fun. He laughed as it rolled across the ground. Mira watched them. Both. Something about them didn't match their story. They were too calm, too skilled, and too quiet. Still, they had helped. And maybe, just maybe, they were good people in trouble. As the sun rose higher, Mira brought out some dried fruit to share. They all sat on a broken bench outside the cabin. Ben told her stories about stars, ships, and cities. Mira listened, amused. Tom mostly stayed quiet, watching the horizon. Finally, Mira asked, "Where will you go next?" Tom looked down at his hands. "We'll move again tonight. Farther away. Running again?" Tom looked at her. "Hiding again." Mira nodded. She didn't need to know more. "You can stay one more night," she said. "If you want." Tom looked surprised. "Even though you don't know who we are?" Mira shrugged. "I don't think you're bad people. That's enough for me." Tom didn't speak, but his eyes said thank you. The morning passed quietly. After breakfast, Mira worked on her tools while Ben played with the rolling metal ball again. He was laughing and chasing it across the dusty ground. His laughter made the quiet place feel alive again. Tom stood near the edge of the small hill behind the cabin. He watched the sky, hands behind his back, as if waiting for something or someone. Mira noticed. She walked up beside him and asked softly, "Are you expecting someone?" Tom didn't look away from the sky. "Not yet, but someday they'll come. They always do." Mira was quiet for a moment. "You speak like a man being hunted." Tom gave a small smile. "Not hunted, just watched." Later in the day, Mira's solar tool started sparking. It was one of her best tools, and it had stopped working again. She hit it gently, but nothing happened. Tom stepped closer and held out his hand. "Can I try?" Mira hesitated. "It's old tech. Even I can't fix it sometimes." But she handed it over. Tom opened the back, adjusted 2 wires, and used a thin metal pin from his coat. In seconds, the tool buzzed softly and lit up. Mira blinked. "How did you do that?" Tom shrugged. "I worked with machines long before I started running." Mira studied him. "You're not a normal traveler, are you?" Tom looked at her. His eyes were calm, but deep. "What do you think I am?" Mira shook her head slowly. "I don't know, but you're not poor, and you're not unskilled." Tom didn't answer. He handed her the tool and went back to check the small power unit near her cabin. Ben waved at him from across the field. By afternoon, the red clouds had cleared and the sun warmed the dry ground. Mira and Tom sat near the small water tank, watching Ben try to catch flying bugs. Mira looked at Tom. "Why don't you just tell me who you are?" Tom glanced at her. "Because the fewer people who know, the better. For you or for them?" Tom didn't answer. Mira leaned back and said, "I think you're someone important. You fix machines too well. You speak like a leader. And the patrols listen to you without a fight." Tom raised an eyebrow. "You saw that?" She nodded. "I always watch when patrol ships land. I've seen them take people for small things. But they left without saying much when you talk to them." Tom sighed. "They know me, but they can't act without proof." "Proof of what?" she asked. Tom looked away. "Of betrayal. Of stolen power. Of plans made in secret." That evening, Mira gave them both a warm dinner, some boiled grains with herbs. It wasn't much, but Ben smiled happily and ate every bite. Mira liked seeing him happy. After the meal, Ben fell asleep in the same warm corner near the heater. His small toy lay beside him, glowing faintly under the blanket. Tom stood near the window again, watching the stars. Mira sat nearby. She spoke gently. "You don't have to tell me everything, but I think you want to." Tom was quiet for a while. Then he nodded. "You're right. I wasn't just a builder or a trader. I was the CEO of EarthTech." Mira sat up straight. She had heard that name. EarthTech made some of the most powerful machines and AI systems in the galaxy. They helped build cities, run starships, and even train space crews. Tom continued. I built machines that helped Earth grow. But one day, I found out that people in my company were doing things I didn't agree with. Like what? They were changing the AI programs, not to help but to control. They wanted to use the systems to watch people, to limit their choices, to decide who was useful and who was not. Mira's eyes widened. That's wrong, Tom nodded. I tried to stop them. But they were already powerful. They tried to remove me, quietly. I escaped with my son. Now I'm hiding, looking for a way to stop them. Mira looked down at her hands. Why tell me? Tom gave her a soft smile. Because you trusted me first. And because you didn't ask for anything in return. A few minutes passed in silence. Then Mira stood and brought out a small wooden box. She opened it and pulled out 3 old circuit boards. I don't have much, she said. But these might help. They still work. You can use them. Tom looked at the parts. He touched them carefully, as if they were rare treasure. Thank you, he said. Mira smiled. You helped fix my tools. It's only fair. The next morning, before the sun had fully risen, Mira found Tom outside again. He had rebuilt part of her power station using her broken parts and added something new, an old circuit that made it run more smoothly. Why fix my things? She asked. Tom answered, because you helped us. And because when the time comes, you'll need strong systems. Mira looked at him. Is something coming soon? Tom looked at the sky. Yes, I don't know when. But they're searching, and they'll find us. Mira thought for a moment. Then she nodded. Then we better prepare. Tom looked at her with respect. You're not afraid? I was alone for years, Mira said softly. Now I'm not. That makes me stronger. Inside, Ben was still sleeping peacefully. The storm was gone. But a new storm, one of secrets, power, and choices, was slowly building. And Mira was no longer just a girl living alone in the hills. She was part of something much bigger now. The morning air was cool and quiet. Mira stepped outside with a cup of warm tea and looked at the sky. The sun was rising over the hills, casting a soft orange light across the dusty ground. Ben was already awake, chasing a glowing beetle with his toy. Tom was checking the small power station he had rebuilt. Mira walked over and stood beside him. It's working well, she said. Tom nodded. Your old parts were still good. They just needed to be connected the right way. Mira smiled. I guess we make a good team. Tom looked at her and nodded. Yes, we do. Suddenly, a loud sound echoed from above. A deep hum filled the sky. Mira looked up quickly and saw a small patrol ship breaking through the clouds. Her heart dropped. They're here, she whispered. The ship landed about 200 meters from the cabin, stirring up red dust. It was gray, with flashing blue lights and the government symbol on the side. Mira grabbed Ben's hand and quickly led him inside the cabin. Stay here. Don't open the door, she told him, no matter what. Ben nodded, clutching his toy tightly. Tom stood calmly near the door, watching the ship. Mira turned to him. You should hide. If they know who you are, they already do, Tom said, his voice steady. But I won't run, not anymore. 2 patrol officers stepped out of the ship. They wore black suits with silver chest plates and dark visors. One of them held a scanner. They walked toward the cabin. Mira stood beside Tom, nervous but silent. The taller officer stopped a few feet away. He removed his visor, revealing sharp eyes and a clean face. Good morning, he said coldly. We're looking for someone. Tom stepped forward. Who? The officer looked at a screen. A man traveling with a child. Brown hair, medium height, possibly dangerous. Tom raised an eyebrow. Do I look dangerous? The officer didn't smile. Looks can lie. Mira held her breath. The other officer scanned the cabin, then stared at Tom. You match the report. But we need confirmation. The first officer stepped closer. Your name? Tom looked him in the eye. Tom. The officer paused, then nodded slowly. Tom ... Or Mr. Thomas Vale, former head of EarthTech. Mira's eyes widened. Tom gave a small sigh. I was hoping for more time. The officer tapped a device on his belt. We have him. Mira stepped forward quickly. He hasn't done anything wrong. He's just... The officer raised a hand. This is not your concern. Miss. Tom raised his hand gently toward Mira. It's okay. The officer looked back at Tom. If you come quietly, we won't involve the child. Tom stared at him. Then, calmly he asked, do you know what they're doing at EarthTech? The officer didn't answer. Tom took a step closer. They are rewriting AI programs to track minds, to control thoughts. If you take me in, you help them. Still, the officer said nothing. Tom pointed at the patrol ship. If you're loyal to Earth, listen to me now. If you are just following orders, then take me. The younger officer glanced at his partner. Something passed between them. Finally, the older officer lowered his scanner. We've seen no proof of these claims, he said. But we didn't see anyone matching your face here either. Tom blinked. What? The officer turned around. There's no one here, just a girl fixing machines. Mira looked at Tom, confused. The patrol officers walked back to their ship without another word. The engines powered up. Within seconds, the ship was gone. Tom stood silent for a long moment. Mira spoke first. Why did they leave? Tom looked toward the sky. Because not everyone wants the world to be controlled. Some people still choose what's right. He turned to Mira. But now they know I'm here. That was a warning. Mira looked serious. Then we have to act before they return. Tom nodded. Yes, it's time to finish what I started. Inside the cabin, Ben looked up as they returned. Are they gone? Tom smiled gently. Yes, for now. Ben looked relieved and hugged his toy tighter. Mira knelt beside him. We're going to help your father now. Is that okay? Ben nodded. I want to help too. That night, Tom opened a metal box he had kept hidden in his bag. Inside were pieces of a strange-looking device, smooth, dark pieces with thin silver lines across them. Mira watched as Tom began connecting wires, chips, and small glowing cores. What is that? She asked. A signal blocker, Tom explained. When it's ready, I can contact the few people I trust. I can send a signal to EarthTech's core system and lock out the AI program they're using. Mira nodded. What do you need? Tom looked around. A stable energy stream. Your power station can work, but it needs to be upgraded. Mira smiled. Then let's get to work. All night they worked together. Mira brought tools, held lights, and helped connect parts. Tom worked fast and focused. Ben sat nearby, watching with sleepy eyes. By sunrise, the small device was glowing steadily. It made no sound, but Mira could feel a soft vibration in the air around it. It's ready, Tom said. Mira looked at him. So what happens now? Tom answered quietly. Now, I try to save the world. But even as the sun rose gently over the hills far beyond the sky, another ship was already on its way, one that wouldn't leave so easily. The air was quiet, but something had changed. Mira felt it. Tom felt it too. The morning sun was warm, but it didn't calm the worry in their hearts. The visit from the patrol had shown them one thing: time was running out. Inside the cabin, the small signal device was now active. A soft blue light pulsed in the center, like a heartbeat. Mira stared at it, unsure how something so small could protect the entire Earth. Tom sat beside it, adjusting the settings. He looked calm, but his hands moved quickly. Is it working? Mira asked. Tom nodded. The signal is sending. If the right people are listening, they'll know I'm alive. They'll know I'm ready. Mira looked outside. Ben was drawing in the dirt with a stick, smiling as he made shapes of stars and planets. "He's always so peaceful," she whispered. Tom smiled gently. "He doesn't know the full truth yet. I want to protect that peace as long as I can." Later, that afternoon, Mira decided to check the small storage room behind the cabin. It hadn't been opened in months. She thought maybe she could find some extra tools for Tom's device. She pushed the creaky door open and coughed as dust filled the air. Old boxes, metal parts, wires, and papers were stacked on the shelves, but something on the floor caught her. A small black case. She opened it and found something strange inside. A silver ID card with Tom's photo. Under his name, the card read, "Thomas Vale, founder and CEO, EarthTech Systems." Mira stared at it. There was no doubt anymore. He hadn't been exaggerating. He truly was the man behind the biggest tech company in the galaxy. The same man whose name she had read in old news reports when she was younger. The man who had vanished years ago after an internal conflict at EarthTech. And now, he was sitting in her broken cabin, using old wires and worn tools to stop a war no one else even knew about. She walked back slowly, holding the card. When she reached Tom, she placed it on the table in front of him. He didn't look surprised. He just nodded. "You found it," he said softly. "You really were the one behind EarthTech?" "I still am, but they don't want me to be." "Why?" "Didn't you tell me before?" Mira asked. "I didn't want you to treat me differently." Mira folded her arms. "I wouldn't have." Tom smiled. "I believe that now." That night, after dinner, they all sat together under the stars. The sky above Harness was filled with moons and slow-moving lights from distant satellites. Ben leaned against his father, yawning. "Papa," he said sleepily, "are we going to stay here forever?" Tom looked down at him, brushing his hair. "Not forever, just until we make things safe again." Ben closed his eyes and said, "I like it here. Mira is nice." Tom looked at Mira. "She is." Mira smiled, though inside her mind was racing. She knew that this quiet moment wouldn't last, and she was right. The next morning, a soft beep came from the signal device. Tom rushed over. A small hologram appeared, showing a serious-looking man in a dark jacket. "Tom," the man said, "we got your signal. You're alive." "Yes," Tom answered. "I'm sending coordinates. Meet me here." "Bring the safe team." The man nodded. "You'll have backup within 2 days, but we're being watched. Be careful." The hologram disappeared. Mira stepped forward. "Help is coming?" Tom nodded. "Yes, people I trust. They'll help me finish the plan." 2 days, Mira said. "We can handle that." But even as she spoke, the sky outside was changing. That night Mira couldn't sleep. She stepped outside and looked up. A faint red dot moved slowly across the stars. Too slow to be a normal ship, too silent to be friendly. She rushed inside. "Tom, there's something in the sky." He grabbed his scanner and ran outside. He stared at the blinking light above. His face turned serious. "That's not one of ours. What is it?" "A shadow drone," Tom said. "They use it to track energy signals. The one I sent. They found it." Mira's heart pounded. "How long until they come?" "Not long." Tom said, "We need to move fast." Early the next morning, they began packing. Tom carefully disconnected the signal device and placed it in a strong metal case. Mira grabbed tools, batteries, and dried food. Ben helped by collecting blankets and his toy. They didn't know exactly where to go, but Tom had a plan. "There's an old mining cave 5 kilometers from here," he said. "If we hide there, we'll be safe until my team arrives." Mira nodded. "I know the place. I used to play there when I was little." They loaded everything into a small hover cart, and Tom covered it with a tarp. Ben held Mira's hand as they walked. "Is this a game?" he asked. Mira smiled gently. "A very important one." As they left the cabin, Mira looked back once. It was small, broken, and lonely, but it had been her home for years. And now it had become the place where something big had started. She whispered, "Thank you," and turned away. They moved quickly through the hills, keeping low and quiet. The sky above remained still, but the feeling in the air was heavy. Tom checked his tracker. "If we reach the cave by nightfall, we'll be safe." Mira pushed the cart beside him. "And if they come before then?" Tom looked at her. "Then we do what humans have always done, we survive." As they walked together, hidden among hills and shadows, one thing was now clear to Mira. Tom was more than a stranger. He was more than a CEO. He was someone willing to fight quietly for what was right. And now she was part of that fight too. The sky above was calm, but Tom knew it wouldn't stay that way for long. Mira and Ben walked quickly through dry hills, pulling the small hover cart behind them. The cart made a soft humming sound, but otherwise the world around them was quiet. Birds had stopped singing. Even the wind seemed to hold its breath. Tom checked the tracker again. "One more hill," he said. "The cave is just beyond that ridge." Mira nodded. "We're close." Ben was tired, but he didn't complain. He held onto Mira's hand with one hand and carried his toy in the other. His steps were small but steady. When they finally reached the cave entrance, Mira felt a wave of relief. The dark opening was hidden behind a curtain of long dry grass and a low rock wall. If someone didn't know it was there, they would never find it. Tom bent down and cleared the grass away. "Let's go inside." The cave was deep and cool. The walls were rough stone, but dry. It had been used many years ago by miners, but now it was abandoned. Mira remembered hiding here when she was younger. It had always felt safe. They set up the cart inside, and Tom placed the metal case with the signal device in the center. He also brought out a small light that glowed softly and placed it on the wall. Ben sat down, leaning against Mira. "It's a good cave," he said sleepily. Mira smiled. "It kept me safe when I was little. Now it'll keep you safe too." Tom sat down across from them and opened the signal case. The device was still working. A gentle blue pulse moved through it like a heartbeat. "I'm sending the new coordinates now," Tom said. "My team should arrive by tomorrow." Mira leaned forward. "Do you trust them?" Tom nodded slowly. "They were part of my private circle before everything went wrong. These are the people who knew what was happening and refused to join the control plan." "Will they help fight?" "They already are," Tom said. "All across the network, there are small teams like ours. We just need to link our signals, and the control systems will start to fall." For a while, they sat quietly, resting. Mira leaned against the wall and watched the blue glow reflect in the cave. Then she turned to Tom. "Why did you bring the device to me? You could have gone to any hiding place." Tom smiled slightly. "Because I didn't choose it. My ship broke down during the storm. We landed by accident." "But why didn't you leave the next day?" Tom looked at her. "Because you let us in without asking who we were. You gave us food, warmth, a place to sleep. No one does that without wanting something back. I didn't want anything." "Exactly," Tom said. "That's why I stayed. You reminded me what people are supposed to be like. Free, kind, brave." Mira looked away for a moment. Her cheeks felt warm. "I've been alone for a long time. You won't be alone after this," Tom said. "The world is changing, Mira, and people like you will be the reason it changes in the right way." Later that evening, they shared a small meal: dried bread, fruit pieces, and warm water. Ben was in better spirits. He had found a smooth stone in the cave and was pretending it was a ship. Tom smiled as he watched him. "He doesn't know the Mayo danger, does he?" Mira asked softly. "No," Tom said. "And I want to keep it that way." Mira nodded. "You're a good father." Tom looked down at his hands. "I try to be, but I can't protect him from everything. That's why I need to finish what I started." Suddenly, the soft blue light of the signal device blinked rapidly. Tom sat up straight. Someone's here. Mira stood quickly. Your team? Tom walked to the entrance of the cave and looked through a small scanner. For a moment he said nothing. Then he whispered, "No, it's not them." Mira's heart sank. "Who is it?" Tom looked serious. "A seeker drone. It's scanning the area." "How close?" "Too close." They acted quickly. Tom powered down the signal device. Mira covered the cave entrance again with grass and stones. They made no noise, barely breathing. A soft humming sound passed over the cave, slow, steady, mechanical. Ben clutched his toy, hiding behind Mira. The sound moved past once, twice, and then disappeared into the sky. They waited a full 10 minutes before speaking again. "That was too close," Tom said. "We can't use the signal until the drone is gone." "What if it returns?" Mira asked. "Then we'll have to destroy it." Mira looked at him. "How?" Tom opened his case again and pulled out a small black sphere. "It's an old jammer. I built it myself. If I get close enough to the drone, it will lose connection and shut down." Mira frowned. "But that's risky." Tom nodded. "Yes, that's why I'm not asking you to do it. I'll go." She stood up. "You're not going alone." Tom looked at her with surprise. "You trusted me," Mira said. "Now I trust you. We're in this together." That night, while Ben slept peacefully in the cave, Tom and Mira walked quietly into the hills. The sky was full of stars again. But somewhere out there, the drone was watching. Tom held the jammer in one hand, a scanner in the other. Mira walked beside him, holding a small flashlight and a backup tool. They didn't speak much. They just walked side by side, trusting each other in the silence. Finally, the scanner blinked. "There," Tom whispered. "It's hovering near the old road." They crouched behind a rock and waited. The drone moved slowly in the sky. Its red light scanning the ground. Tom readied the jammer. Mira put her hand on his shoulder. "Be careful." He gave her a small smile. "I will." He stepped out, pointed the jammer at the sky, and pressed the button. A sharp pulse of light shot upward. The drone blinked, twitched, and then fell silently to the ground. Tom and Mira ran to it and buried it quickly under rocks and dirt. Back in the cave, the air felt safer. They reactivated the signal. This time, no blinking lights came to chase them. And when morning arrived, a message came through the device. "Team arriving. By nightfall, hold position. Help is coming." The message had come at sunrise. "Team arriving by nightfall. Hold position. Help is coming." For the first time in days, Mira felt hope rise in her chest. Tom looked calm but focused as always. He rechecked the signal device and powered it down to avoid another drone. Ben was still sleeping peacefully inside the cave, hugging his toy. The cave felt quiet, safe, and for a brief moment, almost normal. But Mira knew better. She stepped outside the cave with Tom and looked at the open hills. "Do you really think this will work?" she asked. Tom nodded. "It has to. If we don't stop the AI control system now, Earth won't belong to humans anymore. It'll belong to machines and the people controlling them." Mira looked at him carefully. "You said the device can shut it down?" "It sends a blocker signal," Tom explained. "One that tells the core system to freeze. It's buried deep inside the main code. I left it there before I disappeared. But I need one final key to activate it. And that key is coming with the team." As the day passed, Mira and Tom stayed busy. They hid the cave entrance better, collected fresh water from a nearby spring, and checked all their tools. Mira found a few strong metal rods and sharpened them, just in case. By noon, Ben had woken up and helped organize the supplies. He looked at the entrance and asked, "Is someone coming today?" Tom smiled and placed a hand on his shoulder. "Yes, friends." Ben grinned. "Good, maybe they'll bring chocolate." Mira laughed. That's what you want during a rescue mission? Ben shrugged. Chocolate helps everything. Tom and Mira shared a look. That moment of laughter felt precious in the middle of the storm that was coming. As the sun began to lower in the sky, a strange sound echoed through the air, a soft humming, steady and deep. Tom grabbed the scanner and ran outside with Mira. They looked to the north and saw it, a sleek black ship slowly descending through the clouds. It had no markings, no lights, but it moved smoothly, silently, like a shadow with wings. That's them, Tom said. The ship landed gently behind a tall rock formation. The door slid open, and 4 people stepped out. They all wore plain gray jackets with small blue circles on their sleeves. One of them, a tall woman with short hair, rushed forward. Tom! She called out. Tom met her halfway and hugged her. You made it, Laren. She pulled back. We tracked your signal. We've been watching the AI network. It's spreading faster than we thought. Mira stepped forward carefully. Laren noticed her and gave a polite nod. This is Mira, Tom said. She saved our lives. Laren looked at Mira and said, Then we all owe you. Mira felt a little shy but smiled. I just gave them soup and a place to sleep. Tom shook his head. She did much more than that. Inside the cave, the team opened a metal case and brought out a small cube glowing with green light. Tom's eyes lit up. That's the final key, Laren nodded. This cube holds the passcode to unlock your hidden blocker code. Once it connects to your signal device, we can send the shutdown order across the AI core. Tom placed the signal device in the center of the cave again and attached the cube. The lights blinked and shifted blue, green, then white. It's ready, Tom said. Mira asked, So what happens when you press that? Laren replied, The main AI brain will shut down. All the systems connected to it, drones, trackers, scanners, control towers, they'll stop. And the people using them? Mira asked. They'll panic, Tom said. But by the time they react, we'll have already begun resetting the network. The control program will be deleted forever. Everything was almost ready, but then a loud boom shook the ground. Dust fell from the cave ceiling. Outside, the rocks trembled. Everyone jumped to their feet. Laren pulled out a scanner and her face turned pale. A war drone is heading this way. They found us. Tom stared at the blinking red dot on the screen. How long? 15 minutes, maybe less. Mira looked at the signal device. Can you activate it now? Tom shook his head. The signal needs full power. The cave is safe, but not strong enough. We need open air. Laren quickly pointed. There's a wide platform above the hills. If we reach it, the signal will travel far enough. Tom nodded. We take the device there. Mira grabbed the bag. I'll help carry it. Tom looked at her. You don't have to. I know, she said, but I want to. They moved fast. Ben stayed back in the cave with one team member. Mira, Tom, and the rest climbed toward the platform. The drone's sound grew louder behind them, like metal thunder in the sky. Finally, they reached the top of the hill. The land was flat, wide, and open. The perfect place. Tom placed the signal device on the ground. He connected the final wire, looked at Laren, and nodded. Do it, he said. Laren tapped the control panel. The signal device lit up white, then gold, then a burst of blue. A beam of light shot upward into the sky like a spear of hope. From the cave below, Ben watched the light and whispered, Wow. Inside EarthTech's control room, far across the stars, alarms started ringing. Machines froze. The eye systems began blinking out, one by one. Back on the hill, the war drone appeared from the clouds, dark, sharp, and ready to strike. It locked onto the signal device. But just before it could fire, the drone froze midair. The red light in its eye went out. It crashed into the ground a few seconds later. Broken and silent. Everyone stood in silence for a moment. Then Mira whispered, Is it over? Tom looked up, tears in his eyes. Yes, Earth is free again. They walked down the hill in peace. Back at the cave, Ben ran up to them. Did it work? He asked. Tom picked him up and said, "It worked." Ben smiled. "Do we get chocolate now?" Everyone laughed. That evening, as the stars returned to the sky, Mira sat outside the cave. Looking up, Tom sat beside her. "You changed everything," he said quietly. Mira looked at him. "No, we did," he smiled. "And now, the world has a second chance." The next morning, the world felt different. The sky was clear. The air was calm. And for the first time in many years, the earth was no longer under silent control. Inside the cave, Mira woke up to the sound of soft voices. Tom was speaking with Laren and the other team members. They were planning their next steps, how to rebuild the broken systems, how to protect people from future threats, how to bring truth back into the open. Mira sat up and looked around. Ben was still sleeping peacefully, his toy in one hand, a smile on his face. He didn't know it yet, but his father had helped save millions of lives. She stood and walked outside. The view from the hilltop was peaceful. The land stretched far and wide, untouched and quiet. Tom soon joined her. His face was calm now, not worried like before. "It's over," he said. Mira looked at him. "Is it?" He nodded slowly. "The core AI system is shut down. The program they use to watch people, control machines, and limit freedom. It's all gone." "And Earth Tech?" she asked. "Laren will return to the main office. She take control back, and this time it'll be used to help, not control." Mira smiled. "I hope so." Tom looked at her. "You should come with us. You helped make this possible. We'll need people like you." Mira looked at the land around her. She had lived here alone for years, fixing machines, collecting broken parts, surviving one day at a time. But now she had changed. Now she had a reason to do more. "I'll think about it," she said softly. Tom didn't push. He simply nodded. By midday, the team packed up the cave. The signal device, now quiet, was stored safely. The black ship was ready to lift off again. Laren handed Mira a small silver badge. "This is a contact key," she said. "If you ever need help or if you ever want to join us, press this." Mira looked at the badge and nodded. "Thank you." Ben ran up to her with a grin. "Will you visit me?" Mira laughed. "Of course. But only if you promise to bring me chocolate next time." Ben nodded seriously. 2 bars, maybe 3. They both laughed. Tom walked over with his bag and looked at Mira. "Are you sure you want to stay?" Mira looked toward her old cabin in the distance. It was broken and lonely, but it was where everything had begun. Her heart had grown strong here. "For now," she said. "But maybe not forever." Tom offered his hand. Mira took it. "You're always welcome," he said. The ship rose gently into the sky, leaving only a soft trail behind. Mira watched it disappear into the clouds. Her heart full of thoughts. She turned and walked back toward her home. Weeks passed. The world slowly changed. Began to spread true news this time. People learned how the AI had been used to control their lives. They also learned about a small team who had stopped it. Most people didn't know Mira's name, but Tom never forgot. One day, as Mira worked on a new solar tool outside her cabin, a small transport ship landed nearby. She stood up quickly, wiping her hands. The ship door opened, and a familiar face stepped out. It was Tom. He smiled as he walked over. "I thought you were busy rebuilding the world," Mira said, surprised. "I was," he replied. "Now I'm building something else." He handed her a small device. A map appeared in the air. "What's this?" "A clean tech center," Tom explained. "One of many. We're opening them across the planet. Places where anyone can come, learn, build, and share ideas freely." Mira stared at the map. The center was not far from her cabin. "We want you to run it," he said. Mira blinked. "Me?" Tom nodded. You understand machines. But more than that, you understand people, and you helped save the future. Mira looked down for a moment, then smiled. I'd like that. A few months later, the Clean Tech Center opened. It wasn't fancy, but it was full of tools, parts, light, and ideas. Children came to learn. Old engineers came to teach. Travelers came to share stories. And Mira stood at the heart of it all, no longer alone. No longer just surviving, but building something new. Ben often visited, running through the rooms with joy. And every time he brought chocolate. Tom visited, too, sometimes just to talk, sometimes to work on new devices. But always with a warm smile from Mira. One evening, as the sun set behind the hills, Mira stood outside the center and looked up at the stars. She thought about how a strange man and his son had knocked on her door one stormy night. She thought about how her quiet life had turned into something big and meaningful, and she smiled, because now she wasn't just part of the story, she was part of the future.